on the jetty and he's waiting for his boat to come in. Just say, hey guys, have a good day. Enjoy yourself. Don't worry, you'll get out eventually. It's alright. It's probably not even going to be that wild. We'll probably struggle for bait. You guys will probably be out at the spot at the same time as us. You know what I mean? What happened? We are at the spot the same time as you cakes, and we got bait before you guys, and we're on the way to the spot then. We're going to about to go tight with the little yellowtail, or possibly a big yellowfin. Hopefully we're going to go off to Sheppey Brick now and go and fish with some yellowtail in that. Got some beautiful live mackerel in the box here, and a nice array of mozzies as well. So we're going to put that on Sheppey Brick and see if there's any yellowtail hanging around, and get this competition up and going, while BK and Ali, who were the first ones out, are still puzzling for bait. Shame, man. Shame. Couldn't happen to two nicer guys.
Drop it down, hit bottom, come up three winds, and be ready.
And how fast?
And how fast.
I see. Let him smash it. Let him take it down.
Just left the rod.
Here we go. There we go. Oh, me too. Here we go. Here we go.
There we go.
Oh no! Hey, already?
Here we go. Go.
Lift your rod. Yes, Kazi. Quickly, Kazi, don't lose it. Oh no, Kazi. No, man.
Yeah, you gotta wind that drag proper. It's like hooking up to a train.
Oh, there you go. Oh no. Oh no. Go, Kazi. Okay.
You on?
Okay. Oh, there you go.
If you hold one.
Here we go.
Let me get this gaff quickly.
Oh no, this thing got pulled out of its mouth. You're joking. Check how they've been mouthed. Yes, stuck it. Oh, the hook went on itself, in and on itself. Oh, yes. Oh, Sean, well done, bro. Yes, please, man. Going on. Yes, please. Well done, dude. Sorry. Yes, please. Oh no! Oh yes! Yes! Oh yeah!
Hey, come here. Take this one. Come on, buddy. Come take this. Who wants it?
You're gonna be in a bikini, bro.
There's Kevin.
Going under the boat! Oh, look at this one!
When everything you wanna hear is turning into no's.
Somebody's got a gaff! He's going again!
Get the GoPro in the water.
You got him! Yes! Yes, people! Yeah, but I told you I'm not targeting the species, but I'll have to just give it a go. How's it, guys? Kirk here from Go Fish in Byron, and welcome to tonight's Go Fish weekly wrap up here out of Byron's house in Devon North. And we missed our first tee off time at 7 o'clock, delayed because of Brendan Nolan.
But don't worry, he's here.
And
here.
he's nearly missed
He's
the
made it.
second tee off time here at 7:30.
Oh, goodness.
Well done, Kazi. Well done for arriving.
COVID.
So, yeah, I think a shout out to Squirrel for opening up the bottle stores.
Cheers.
Thanks, my boy.
Thanks, Uncle Cyril.
Appreciate that. It's been a tough couple of Thursdays without being able to enjoy a
It's been
ice cold beer.
expensive. It's been expensive, put it that way. It's been expensive Thursday. Mate.
Yeah. So so before we get into the thick of things tonight, we're going to be going through summer bait presentations. So we're going to be discussing live baits, dead baits, mozzies, mackerels, red eyes, whatever you can get out of the deep freeze, you name it. We're going to have it here on the table. Byron's going to be running through that with us. Probably one of the best bait fishermen that I've been fortunate enough to fish with. So I'm sure we're going to learn a lot tonight. And he's got one or two secrets that he's going to unlock for us tonight, which will really help us this summer and moving into sort of the June, July period, especially when you guys start using those live baits and that, the dead baits formations and that. But this weekend, the fishing's starting to pick up nicely. There's been some sort of the action's been all over the place. South Coast for us has gone a little bit quiet. Sort of one or two fish happening there, but North
Maybe
Coast
that's
there's
just
been a
'cause you
couple of good fish. No, I did launch, but no, there's been a couple of good fish around up north and sort of.
Yeah, I mean,
GX
we
areas.
spoke about it last week as well, and the water temperature, guys. I mean, I can't remember. Well, I can remember, but it wasn't in the last couple of years that we've had consistent water temperature, and even with the rains that we've been having, the water's still sitting at the 25, 26, and we haven't had 26 for a long time, boys. And you can see by the bullfish we've been getting. I mean, we had a sailey on Saturday, on off. We had a marlin on Sunday. The guys are getting small marlin on the inside. There were two. I mean, Kevin Tate had two marlin in a week. Last week. And the guys are getting sailies and marlin, on the paddle skis and that. So it's shallow water. It's on the inside. It's because that water is so warm. It's 26. We haven't had fishing like that, boys, and it's teeing up. It's going to be a cracker. I said it before. As long as that water temperature keeps sitting between 25 and 26, the pelagic's going to be at. I mean, it's not even that clean. It's that off green color, but it's perfect for kuta. And as you know, the yellowfin, they're not too fussy about watercolor. You can catch them in pretty dirty water as well. So it's really teeing up. I mean, we're just coming to the end of January, and we're getting kuta. Getting 6, 7, 8 pulls. We had 8 pulls, 9 pulls on Saturday. Our Big Phil was with us. So he took a bit of flack, but he'll be back on Saturday to redeem himself. I'm sure he's watching. But yeah, there's a little bit of there's also they're eating a little bit sly as well. So it's not a matter of just chuck a bait out there and go on. But yeah, let's chat some more, and we'll probably get stuck into that as well a bit
Just
later.
an interesting thing is that you've obviously noticed it as well. There's not a lot of yellowfin tuna around at the moment. Well, there
No,
wasn't.
until
There
today.
wasn't. There wasn't. There
Yeah,
wasn't
there
until
wasn't,
today.
Yeah.
And
Or last weekend, yeah.
Matthew Opperman got one massive,
Yeah.
41.7 kilos on the kayak today, but there were a few others as well.
Yeah. Saw some
So-
other fish come out as well.
Tanks.
They've suddenly.
And I remember Alistair said he said in November or December, he said, because there was a bit of a flurry in the early part of December, a couple of tuna popped up, but not really big fish. And he said he couldn't wait for February because that's when the big fish come,
Yeah,
especially in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Salmon Bay, that Salmon Bay, Jets,
Yeah.
Salt Rock area. And there you can see, I mean, what's the date? So it's the 4th of Feb, and bang. And actually, I mean, on Sunday, we also lost probably 4 or 5 fish, and you'll see some of that video.
Sharks in it as well.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
sharks, tackle failure, mouthing the bait, spitting it out, all those sort of things, reverse hooks, all those lacquer things that go wrong and make you keep coming
But
back.
there weren't a lot of tuna, like, often in sort of October, November time, they come through sort of 5 to 8 kilos, lots of them.
Yeah.
But there wasn't.
There was a bit, yeah, it wasn't, but it wasn't like it was
normal,
before, definitely, I agree, yeah. But certainly, just based on the last week, there's a lot of bait balls around now, and you're starting to get fish around it, and then you can see now the guys got stuck into them. It was probably, I've seen photos now, probably about 5, 6 decent fish. But again, you've got to be fishing right for them. It's not a matter, because there's a lot of guys on the water. That's the thing. So there's a perception, yes, the fish are boiling everywhere, but it's not. You got to put into a number of guys that are fishing as well. So, I mean, we were very fortunate on Saturday. I mean, we just had we literally put 4 baits out in a row, and while he was letting them out, he was going on, and there were guys around us just not getting a bite. So what it was, the fish were on top. I must be honest. So we ended up fishing our heaviest sinker that we were fishing on Saturday was like a 4 ounce.
Sure.
So the fish were on top. So if the guys, especially on the skis and that, where they tend to paddle a little bit slower, let the bait sink, they're fishing in that column at the bottom, and the fish were right on top. They definitely weren't getting their baits to the top.
Yeah.
And that's possibly why they weren't getting bites, because I didn't see a ski bend around
And
us.
over the last few weeks, the guys have been fishing for kuta because the kuta have come on the bite, so they've
100%,
kind of chased after the kuta, and now suddenly the tunny are here as well.
Oh, which is lekker, and they're all up there by Salt Rock, so go get stuck in there, guys. I'm Schlali, Salt Rock, go and get you paddle ski guys, get stuck in there, but fill those car parks. I'll try and show it to you tomorrow.
And I think the exciting thing for us as well is, and it's north coast to south coast. I think everywhere you look at the moment, there is a hell of a lot of bait. So there's a lot of bait in the water. There's a lot of those juvenile red eyes still around. A mate of mine, Dean Shazari, who won the snook comp over the weekend, he was saying that today he launched and there was a hell of a lot of bait in the water, and a lot of those juvie red eyes again. So, and the colour of the water is looking right. You're getting the colour lines as well, and you're just waiting for everything to just sort of to align, and it just.
Do you not
to
find that
take
when there's a lot of bait, obviously then the fish have got a lot to feed on, or they're searching for that bait, and it's almost as that bait comes on the go, you need to wait a couple of days. They find it, they get stuck in, and probably the best time is like near the tail end of lots of the bait. Is that
I mean,
right,
I think when there's so much bait, you've got to also look at the times. So the kuta, twice as we arrived, the first bait we put out literally within 2 minutes of putting the bait out, we had a pull. So the fish are obviously eating early. So when that bait's there, I mean, they're not smashing it all day. They're obviously feeding early because that's when they can hunt. They're a bit of less colour or less light in the water, so they can obviously get stuck in, get closer and hammer the bait. So those sort of basic rules through our life, which we sometimes forget. We think, I'll go and catch bait, for an hour, and then I'm going to go and fish for kuta. No, guys. Catch like 5 baits and get in and get a bait out in the water like as quickly as you can.
Where the bait is,
because that window, that early morning window is vital. Because they will eat, a little bit late in the morning, but that first sort of half an hour of light is vital. So you can get your bait like on the edge of light in the half in the dark and get a bait in the water as it's getting light. It's crucial. And that,
especially if it's on a tide. If you're on a high tide. And you're fishing predominantly, you're fishing for bait on the nets or quite close to the back line or in those areas on a high. Put a bait up because those kuta are going to be coming inside on that high tide.
Today was perfect. It was pushing. I think highs. It's a little bit later. It's pushing probably about 9 or something around there. I think.
Yeah.
But if you go onto the Tides for Fishing app, you'll see there was 6 fish this morning. 6 fish because there was the moon. There's a moon and a sun and a high tide all together. So it was big. There was a big lot happening.
Yeah.
And it was game on. So when I woke up this morning, I didn't check it last night. I checked it this morning, and I said, you missed out today.
Yeah.
And you can see the guys did get some fish.
And our gaps opened up, thanks to Uncle Cyril again.
Yeah. That curfews open up, so now we can get on the water at those crucial times when we need to catch those fish. Those first light times are crucial, as well as obviously late evening. Guys, something exciting from Lawrence. We spoke about it last week. The new Elite range has arrived. We got the Elite FS with active live target, which is quite an impressive feature on these new Elite FS units, where you can pretty much watch what that fish is doing live. Obviously, it's more suited to freshwater at the moment, application in shallow water. But I can tell you now, you give Lawrence maybe a year or two. The Chirp started off the same way as well, where they started sort of shallow water, and that's just blown up in advance so hugely. So comes back to what you always say, the good, better, best thing. They just keep getting better.
I mean, that's like coming down into the middle tier range.
Middle ranges,
so the better range, and I mean it's going to come. The other offering has come out in the 5 as well. So there's it's just getting better and better and more affordable, which is great because then more people can have access to that sort of equipment and it will work. You're fishing, especially where you're fishing for kuta and that thing. You're only in 25, 30 meters of water. You know, it will work there. So, yeah, it's a big up to them, and they just keep shifting the goalposts.
Pushing
all
the
the time,
boundaries,
yeah.
yeah, 100%. So the Hook 5 Reveal HDR has also been launched at the moment. And then also just remember, for those Hook Reveal units, you get that free Lawrence pack. It is while stocks last. So guys, get in as quickly as possible. If you can get yourself one of those Hook Reveal units, you can get yourself a lovely Lawrence brand pack. So get in on that, like I said, while stocks last. We're going to sort of move into the summer bait presentation. We're not going to spend too long on other things tonight. BK, let's kind of look into. We're going to be looking at different baits tonight. How to rig them. I think especially things like mozzie. You can rig mozzie. You can rig a couple of different ways, depending on where you want them sitting on the surface and how you want them. Sort of what sort of action you want them to sort of portray. But yeah, I mean, kick it off. Let's
and I think, you know, I was mentioning it just a bit earlier. I think you've got to you're almost like puzzling it together. And look, and we're very fortunate that as we're getting to fish quite a lot, especially, you know, we're on a jet ski. I can get out before work, so I'll go tomorrow as well. But you start like puzzling an area and the way the fish are feeding at the moment, and what's giving you success and what isn't. So I mean, just in that Mshloti area where we've been fishing and getting the bites, you know, definitely less is more. You know, so as I said, they're not just smashing any bait that goes out there. I fished with the duster quite a bit. Definitely the strike rate went right down on that. I'm not saying that someone else maybe hasn't had success in it. We got a fish on it, but I'm just saying, in terms of a live mackerel with a duster, without, definitely the without the duster seems to be working. So wanting more of a plain bait from what I can see. Again, hooks, color of hooks to bait. So on the mackerel, dark hooks on that seems to be getting the better pull. And then definitely, you know, the bite trace is winning by far. I mean, Phil had 4 pulls in a row while he was letting it out. And that was with 3 ski boats and probably 10 paddle skis around us, not getting a pull. So that's really talking to finesse fishing. So there we're talking 12, 14 kilo fluoro leader to a number 4 wire and to a single 4 Gamakatsu. So that's the trace. That's my first trace that's going out tomorrow morning. You can see it's about 400 mils long. It's my hook preference for Kuta. Your strike rate is obviously much lower. When I strike rate, I'm saying your hookup rate is much lower because, I mean, you know, Kuta, he's coming in and he's smashing all over that. But what I do find is it's not a strike to set the hook, so it's light drag like you would fish for a tuna or a garrick. And basically he's going to smash it and speed off, and it's really just like tightening the drag and fishing almost like a circle hook. And it just, he's got it in his mouth, chops it, and it slowly tightens up, and you, in 9 times out of 10, you'll hook him right in the scissors. Yeah. So that's really what's been working, guys. We've had 2-3 kuta on this as we've arrived. So get that out, and that again is also talking to the fish that are on the top. So there could be something happening down at the bottom. The divers will know. If there's any divers on watching at the moment, give us some feedback. You know, maybe there's something with the water temperature, or the fact that there's scum line near the surface and the bait's holding more on the shallows, on the top side, and then obviously the kuta are swimming on the top. But and then again, maybe because the water is that sort of darky green, you know, they're feeling comfortable in being on the surface, and they're swimming on that in that sort of 5 meter tier. So that'll be my go-to.
On that, you were just talking about drag very quickly there. You're fishing a lightish drag, a nice light drag.
Just enough, you know. You picture him in your mind. He's just coming in and he's smashing and chopping it, and then he's swimming away. So I mean, he'll come in flared like this. So a mackerel or mozzie is basically almost engulfing the whole thing, although he's chopping with teeth at the same time. He goes in and if it's going to go in his mouth. So this hook's going to be, and this hook is set on a live bait. So on a live bait, I'll set it behind the head, you know, behind the head of the mackerel, and remember what I said in terms of a while back, probably in one of the previous, is that you see the offset of the hook. The offset of the hook must face towards the tail of the fish, not towards the front. Okay, because what happens, it sits like that, and then there's more chance of the hook reversing because it sits down by the body because you're invariably pulling him forward. So you want the offset of the hook. You can see, so the offset is facing towards me. That angle sits back. So when you put him to his back, the offset must face towards the tail. So when it's pulling forward, the hook's standing proud above his back. So it's just behind the head, literally the first piece of meat behind the head, quite deep so it doesn't pull out. Obviously mackerel pull a lot harder, but mozzies, I normally will put the mozzie, I'll rig the mozzie on the top. Just he's got a bit more shine in the mackerel, so he doesn't hide as much. You know, he's got that contrast right on the surface, and you'll tend to get the bites. And they haven't been saying no to the mozzies lately. So that's how I swim a live bait. And that will be my first bait that goes out tomorrow morning. Throw it out on the surface and put it quite long. So I'll put it quite long on the top. And yeah, so it's for a Gamakatsu Taiman, number 4 wire, about 400 mils, and then a number 6 power swivel.
And then what often happens on that bait is you'll get the hit. He'll come in for the hit, and he'll maybe just maim the bait, take half of it or something like that, and leave the head or the hooked piece. And the best thing to do there is just to free spool it, let it go, and then it'll come back and you'll actually smash the rest.
So that's a key thing. It's on any of your kudu type fishing. If you get that strike, that on-off strike, it doesn't matter on what trace you're fishing. Get into the habit of just hammering free spooling. You know, just pull if it's a lever drag, pull it back. Star drag, just free spool it, and let it free spool. Just keep your hand on it. Don't let it go overwind. Obviously, give it like 10 meters, and then just put your hand on it. Give another 5 meters. Put your hand on it, because you know obviously a fish there's sometimes a shoal and they chop one. They expect the piece to fall, and then they see it like dragging off. It doesn't look natural, and they back off. You know, if you can get to it quickly and let it, and then it starts dropping, you know, either the same fish or another fish will come around and scoop up the pieces. So yeah, that's a key thing to bear in mind. Just get into that habit. It's just like, because guys go, pick it up and start winding in. No, give it free spool straight away, and then 9 times out of 10 they will come back and pick it up, and you can literally feed it and just go back on the drag. So that's pretty much that's definitely what's been working, guys. So I would make sure I'd have that in my arsenal.
And you're fishing it out. That's the longest bait you've got up.
Yeah,
on the
you fish it long because it's a scallon bait basically. You fish it long, but it's definitely working. And you're gonna miss a lot, but also it does open you up to tuna as well, because it's a bit cleaner. Look, we know tuna don't like wire, but it does open you up to it as well as Dorado as well. You know, so it doesn't like nullify it when you go into a full wire trace. So that's basically how I'd fish that on the top. And then my other bait that I'll put out tomorrow if I get a mackerel. So I fish live baits with 2 trebles. So I'll fish with 2 trebles. And you can see, so this is these are number 2, 4x. And so I've made that trace obviously in terms of length, expecting to have a mackerel. So I'll fish generally number 2s on mackerel, and then I'll go to number 4s on your smaller baits like mozzies, razor bellies, and red eyes, if I can get a red eye quickly out. So it's slightly longer, so you can see there, if you look at it from a mackerel point of view, he's going to be about, I'd want that hook to be sitting probably 2/3 down his back. But you can see it's a dark hook sitting on the top side of the mackerel, so he's dark on the back as well. So that's, you see, you're going to have that dark hook sitting against him, so it's not going to contrast, so it's going to look natural. And then in terms of pinning him, I go sideways. So it's a matter of taking the treble and going sideways through his nose like that, and making sure that barb's through. So sideways through the nose, and then the other treble is going to go down his body. It'll be sitting in his body there. And if it's a live bait, I'll pin it through and then bring the barb out, just so it doesn't spit it out the body while he's swimming and shaking, especially on mackerel, because they're obviously quite violent. So that'll be my trace. And as I said, like I haven't been getting bites that have told me that we definitely need to have a duster. So I'm fishing clean. I'm just fishing with a small glow bead in front, and that seems to be working. If I go to
that, a little bit about that lead wire.
Yeah.
You want it quite long on a live bait.
Yeah, so a bit long, especially on mackerel, because what tends to happen with mackerel is they're swimming, you're trawling slowly. When the cutter comes, he sees this thing about to chop him in half, you do the same, you'll try and get out the way. and you're going to bolt forward, and you're going to make a bow in the wire. And that's often when you get that piece of wire back that looks like a spring. That's he's made a loop. The cooter's come through. He's got the wire and everything. He's smashed the bait, missed the hooks, got the piece of wire on the side, cut it off, before he's cut off, it's dragged through the side of his mouth, and that's made that he's pulled it like a ribbon. You would make a ribbon, and then bitten it off. So you want that bit along the way. It's too short. He shoots forward. He's obviously going to come through your fluoro leader and just you're going to get a piece of line back. So what happened? And then just in terms of trace, I'm fishing at the moment number 5 between the wire, and number 4 in the leader, and then a number 6 power swivel. And like I said, with a little bead in the front. So that would be my mackerel trace, or my even a shad. I'd go a little bit longer, obviously, depending on the size of the shad.
And the length of the lead wire is probably what, about 600, 800?
Yeah, the lead wire I'm working about a meter. Yeah. So 800 to
on a live bait.
On a live, yeah. On a dead bait, you can shorten up. You will, especially if you're fishing more finesse, come shorter, maybe even to 300-400, because the bait's dead. So he's going to come through. He's not going to come and try and hit you unless he comes from the front. On a mozzie trace, I'll be fishing the same, so I'll have a mozzie set up for tomorrow. Here I'll go the silver hooks, and then again with a bead, just a shorter trace. I'll rig him exactly the same, sideways through the nose, and one hook 2/3 down the body, one probably 2/3 down the body, and there'll be, and I'll fish smaller hooks then. You go to number 4. These are 6X number 4. So that's sort of that's basic, as much as simple as it is. Really, I fish like that all the time, and like I say, it's not. Other people obviously have a preference, but I just find less hooks better. And yeah, your strike rate on that sort of trace is generally not bad. It's pretty good. Medium to quite tight drag as well, just so that as he gets it, he gets pinned, and then as he takes off, I'll generally, as I take a rod, I'll actually come a quarter turn back on the drag. Fish star drag, as I pick it up, quarter turn back, and let him go, because you don't want to stop him on his run. And that's when things break as well. In that first run, when he's putting pressure on, he's got the bone of line in the water, you're fishing light, and let him go. The bigger run he does, especially Kuto, his first run, the less he's going to box you by the boat or the ski or the jet ski, and you're going to get him in quicker, because that's where he's going to get chowed. So you want him to that big run. Let him go. Just keep a nice bit of pressure on him, just so the hooks are in, and he goes. And then when he comes, when he turns, then you can crank up and start pumping him back. Yeah, so you can obviously mix it up, put your dusters. Everyone's got their personal preference on dusters, water clarity, clean water, dirty water, green water. And like I say, just at the moment, I'm seeing the Kuto wanting it to see quite a natural bait out there.
So I think the two things that I can just add on there. I don't know if Brendan's got anything to add as well, but on the live bait traces ahead of the actual lead hook, what a lot of guys do is because you don't want the duster to come over your live bait and over the nose, and what inevitably happens is you actually drown the bait, or it suffocates the bait and it's not able to breathe properly when that duster drops down onto your lead hook here. The guys either put a bead here, or what you can do as well is just tie a piece of elastic, and it just keeps that bit of duster or that skirt up above the actual bait and away from the fish's nose. Gives it a bit more allure in the water, that you can see it from far out. Things like a fish like Dorado love a little pink skirt in front of the bait, so that works well. And then the second thing is as well, guys, something to mention, especially if you're fishing in areas where you've got extremely clean water, like your Vidals and Mozambiques and that, or if you know that there's been a lot of tuna in the water, but you also know that it's an area where you get Kuta as well, or it's a time of year that you get Kuta, it might be an idea to mix it up a bit. So maybe fish one fluoro trace and fish one only trace wire trace, so that you are basically playing both fields from a point of view of being able to get the bite from on a fluoro trace from a tuna or a dory. And also, if you get bitten off, then okay, well, hang on, I need to, if you get bitten off once or twice on your fluoro, then you need to swap over for trace. So,
100%.
I don't know if you've got anything to add to the live bait side of things there, Ben.
I think dories I don't think you have to worry too much about. They'll often take a steel trace.
They're not as fast as tuna.
They're not as fussy, but a trace that I've used quite for a couple of years. A friend of mine was using it up in Mozambique, Clayton, quite a lot. Just a single treble on number 4 wire, and he just pins it through the head, back of a mozzie or mostly a mozzie, small bait. Just also leave it long, just one single treble.
Yeah.
And I've caught dories and I think a tuna on it.
100%.
And
So
they-
you
they
can
will sometimes take it.
Exactly. It's personal preference, you know. So the only reason why I like this is that because on a ski boat, when you're trawling, there's a bit more pull.
Yeah.
So if you're pinning him behind the head, you need a bit more grab through the meat. So when you go to a treble, you also want to go massive treble. With a smaller treble, you know, you don't get as much of a purchase, and it sometimes pulls out. But definitely from is probably 2 to 1, if not 3 to 1, on a single. Yeah. So I agree with you. Definitely.
And then just leave
treble's
that
good.
long.
Long again, medium light drag, and you can pin him through the nose. You know, the reason to pin him through the back is just that he swims more, almost like if you think about a Rapala or Halko or Williamson's, whatever. That he literally does, especially with the mozzie. He's swimming down because he's pinned behind the head.
It gives that vibration.
He's swimming, he vibrates a lot more. That when he's through the
I think they
nose,
pick it up.
he's swimming nicely like that. You know, where it actually forced him to continue swimming like that. So I think that's from a vibration point of view. You do get more bite like that.
But
the
again,
treble
like you're
gets-
saying, is if you're wanting him on the surface, then
Yeah, then through the nose.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Because if
100%.
if he's going down below where they're hunting,
Correct.
because if you pull, the faster you pull with him in the back, he's going to push further
Exactly.
down. So-
Especially mozzies, they love to swim down. They
and I think we
something
forget
about
that those fish will miss bait
correct.
that far away from them if there's
Yeah.
other bait on the surface.
Yeah, if they're hunting on the top, I mean,
Yeah.
think where their eye position is as well.
They zoned in.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah, I think that little. I just see one of the guys popped in here, Aaron Walton. I was fishing with him the other day, and we were fishing this little single trick, and also that little trick with the duster was something that I see the South Coast boys use quite a bit, and he uses that little duster trick halfway up the lead wire with a little elastic band to keep it up above the bait and above the nose so that you don't suffocate it. But this for me has been a game changer for the season, and even when we were on the boat with Aaron and Brendan and Keegan that day, this was the one we got the pulls on with wire on two tuna, the fish that we got them on, and it really has. I mean, I haven't missed a fish on the single yet. They've been solid hookups every time. I don't think I've actually missed a fish yet on that. It's been a phenomenal. That Kamagatsu 4 Taiman has really worked its magic. So. Yeah, guys, that's the sort of live bait side of things for now. We're going to sort of move into the dead baiting, and Byron's going to show us a little stick trick that he showed sort of towards the end of last season while we were in lockdown. And yeah,
It's out there
PK?
now. It's too late. Can't do anything.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, look, there's a couple of ways, obviously, to fish dead baits, and I mean, everyone's got their own preferences. Also depends a lot on what you're fishing. You're fishing on a paddle ski, a jet ski, a ski boat. You know, how many baits you're putting out, how many rods you can put out. So, you know, you got to weigh up all those sort of options. Also, what the conditions are doing. You know, if the wind's blowing, you know, to drift is obviously a good option because then you can go quiet, especially if you're on a jet ski or a boat. You know, so this is very much a drift bait, boat, jet ski, whatever it might be. So it's on the same principle that we're using in terms of a one hook trace. You can approach it if the fish are on and you're missing. I mean, you can add a normal cutter trace. You can still keep your single in the front and have a short piece of wire to a treble. But essentially, what you're doing is you're pinning the dead bait behind the head, and what the stick is doing is it's keeping the bait first of all nice and straight, and then also it's allowing, as I said about getting purchase, it's stopping the hook from actually pulling out of the bait while in the drift. Because especially you're amazed at how much force is on the bait when you're drifting. You actually want your rod to be at about a 45 to the water at least, so that you get the maximum movement on it for this to work. So the idea here is that the bait is in the water and it starts sinking. As the boat's drifting away and it rolls, the rod pulls up and actually pulls the bait through the water. And the bait runs sideways at 45, but it gets pulled to the water. So again, it's like a short run of a bait moving like this, and then it sinks again. And as the boat rocks up again, the rod lifts. Goes. So you want a slightly longer rod because that's going to give you the bigger action. And on a boat, obviously in a jet ski, you'll get that movement. The paddle ski, you get a little bit less movement, but again, the paddle ski is moving quite fast through the water as well. So what you do is you just take your bait, and you've got a Sasat stick. This one's a bit thick. Sorry, I don't have them out. But basically, what I'm doing is I'm measuring to the back of the head. So I want that stick to come up into the back of the head, and I want to hide that stick under his skin, so that I want that stick to sit under his skin all the way up his back like that. And I'll try not to mess his baits up because I'm going to show you another rigging for head as well. And so I've got that measurement there now, so I'm measuring it with my finger there. I've kept it there. It's going to cut it off. So there I've got my measure of how long I want it to be. And I'm just going to put it in underneath the skin. So I'm going to put it in under the skin like that. It's quite a thick stick, so it's not ideal. But I'm just working it way up his back here until I can feel it basically coming in behind his head. And then I'll hide it into the body like that. So that stick's now sitting under the skin all the way up. And what it allows me to do is, where's this guy here? Now I can take this hook and I actually set it underneath the stick. So again, like I said, make sure the gauge of the hook is moving towards the back, not the gauge, or offset is heading towards the back. And I'm going to go like about a third of the way down the body, not too much. You don't want to be like halfway down. You want to be like about a third of the way down the body. And I'm going to go then underneath that stick. So now what's happening now is that can't pull out. You can see I'm pulling hard there. Can't pull out because the stick is holding it in place. And you can see how he's sitting now. He's sitting at about 45. So that's what you want him to be sitting at, about 45 in the water. You can go fractionally more back, but at that 45 is cool. So what he's doing now is he's sitting in the water like that. And what will happen is when you're drifting now, he's going to drop in the water, and then as your rod rocks up like that, he's going to go through the water like that. He's going to sink, and he's going to go like that in the sink. And what you can think about the fish is seeing, he's seeing the side. So he's seeing silver from the bottom, and if he's coming from the side, he's going to see it. So sinking down, and it's going like that and moving. And yeah, guys, especially Vidal, Mozambique, those sort of places, we battle to get live baits. That is on the drift. As soon as there's a bit of that easterly blowing, that's a deadly bait. If there's a cutter there and he's near the surface, especially early morning and late afternoon, more afternoon because that's generally when the winds come, and that afternoon bite comes on the pushing tide, or the chain, or the turn of the tide, even on the low. That's definitely a deadly bait that you should have out all the time, and you can mix your other baits up as well. But that's a go-to.
You've got one or two comp winning fish up in the Ponto comp on that exact. On fishing that exact.
My biggest cutter actually ever that I've caught in my life was at Ponto, and it was on that in the afternoon. It was on a red eye, rigged exactly like that on the surface. So believe me, guys, big fish love that bait because they usually swimming around on the top. They see this thing, it's nice and slow, not moving, but it's looking quite natural. Not too much on it again. You've only got a one hook. You can fish again. You can fish treble. So you can also put a treble behind the stick. That treble won't pull out. So or you can fish a single like that. But really, guys, that's a cracker bait. You need to have that out, especially if you're drifting.
But the single looks like it would definitely work a lot better. Just the shape of that.
Yeah, it sits nice and
put
proud.
A treble behind
It's
there.
only when he smashes it again, you've only got one side to hook him. But you fish it exactly the same. So it's light drag, just enough to stop it from pulling line. Because you'll be amazed. You'll see when you're drifting how much pressure that is putting on, and that's why the stick is key, so the hook doesn't pull out of the bait.
Yeah. And on your sort of, how are you fishing that? Are you fishing that? Is it when you're drifting? Are you not weighting it at all? Or
you can weight it. So if there's a very strong wind and you feel like it's like right on the top and it's breaking and it's sitting right on the surface, then I will weight it. Obviously, as soon as you weight it, you lose some of the action. So I wouldn't put on a big weight. Then I'll just put like a 2 or 3 ounce, just to sort of offset it, so that it's still, at least you're still getting that movement. When you do you'll get a bit of action on. So it reduces the action a bit. But like a 8 to 10 knot wind is just that afternoon. That southeasterly that comes in the afternoon in Mozambique is just perfect for it because it just sits nicely. It's probably about a meter or two below the surface. Perfect.
And you're fishing that on your cutter stick, so you wanting something with a little bit of a bend in it.
Yeah,
so
and a bit longer. You want that longer rod,
yeah.
because obviously it accentuates the movement of the ski. So the skis only move like that.
So it's more suited for boat and
boat and jet ski. Yeah. But I mean, if you've got on your paddle ski, remember the guys' rods are set much higher on the paddle ski. So if you're sitting sideways and the ski is rocking like that, you're going to get a lot of movement up there as well. So it can work if you sit sideways and put one on your lap or something and have that one standing up. It'll work. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
All right, then we're going to be moving on to our dead bait, the actual the dead bait rigs. We've gone through the stick trick. Chat a little bit about the pulsator chin weight. Okay.
Yeah, so this thing, this is the Pulsator banana chin weight that's come out. It's been sort of hit the shelves. I think in the latter part of last year. It was developed by the guys from Pulsator, I think Ryan and a couple of others, Lundy and everyone there, and Rudy. And this has come out. So, and the guys have really been using this and having some great success. So I'm going to clear up the debate, because there was a massive debate on a couple of the group chats a couple of weeks ago, and it's really around this hole here. So there's a hole
I remember
at
that
the base, at the base of the chin weight. Okay, so, and this guy's not about right or wrong, but I'm telling you what the hole is for. Okay, so anyway, this is how I would rig it. Again, not as long a leader as I would have on a live bait tray, so probably about 400 or 500 in the front. Again, number 4 wire. I like this on a dead bait, and even live bait. I like this orange bead, especially in Mozambique. But I've caught some fish here at Mshloti as well on that orange bead. The guys reckon, some of the guys have seen it in the water diving, where it's come past and they've actually seen a kuta swimming next to it, like mesmerized, basically just swimming next to this thing and then smashing it. So yeah, it's it definitely does sunning, but again, it's something different and something like an attractant. And then what I do here is, you've got hooks, especially on singles. You've in the old days, I speak of the old days, if ever a guy fished a single in the front, they would look for a hook that was soldered closed, so you wouldn't have a gap on the one side. So if you understand, the eye of the hook is bent around and then comes up and sits against the hook shaft. So the guys used to look for hooks that were actually soldered closed, so that the wire wouldn't pull into that gap or possibly pull through it. So if you get a big fish on, or you're putting a lot of pressure, the wire could pull through the gap in that hook there. So whenever I make traces with a single in the front, I'll always make them on the opposite side, so they'll both sit. I know some guys like one side, the other side, because it sits nicely down the bait. But I'll always tie my knots to the opposite side, so my leader's there, and then both my wires are on the opposite side. So if it did pull through, it'll sit on the shaft of the hook, can't pull out. Especially if you get like a big jeet, where you realize it's a jeet and you start putting heat on them. You know, it's not going to happen often with a kuta. But again, sometimes a kuta can get hooked in the side with a single. That's in his mouth and he flicks, and that's when he creates a lot of pressure, wire breaks, those sort of things. So that's just a small thing. I'll always rig on the opposite side of where the gap is. And then you can see here, so this is rigged, basically that's the chin weight. They come in different sizes, I think from like a 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 3 ounce. So it'll obviously depend on the size of the bait. I think this is maybe a 1 or 2 ounce. But it's not a bad size for this bait, so it sits nicely there. I'm looking at an outfish generally, because it's a single with a weight in the front. That front hook generally is not going to hook up too much. So I'll have one hook about 1/3 of the way down, and then I'd look for a second hook about 2/3 of the way down. So that's how I'd rig it. Right, so the reason for the hole, and this is from the horse's mouth, so it's actually from the guys from Pulsator. So what we find is the jet ski guys tend to pull baits a little bit quicker, and sometimes other guys, even on the boats and that sort of thing, and whatever it might be. So you can rig your hooks in as you'd see fit. So what it's for is actually to put a loop of wire through, to pull it up against the bait, so it doesn't sit down, doesn't potentially sit away from the bait like that. So if you start pulling it a bit fast, it might start spinning. So what it is, it's to streamline the bait. So I cut a piece of wire here. I haven't done it before, so I only got the info. So what you're meant to do is you literally put the wire through the hole. Bear with me, it's my first time. You go, excuse the pun. So I was explaining, I'm going to get a bit messier. But the idea is, and you don't have to use this thin wire, so I'm just using number 5 because that's what I had here, which might make it a little bit difficult, but you probably want to use maybe a thin copper wire, will be easier to work with. But you're basically going through and over the head. So you're making a loop with the wire over the head of the bait, and then I'm just going to try and see if this works. But you're going to basically tighten that up then on him. I don't know, I'm just testing it this way. But if you get the gist of it, that loop over the head, so I'll do this with copper wire. You're putting that loop, you're looping it over the head of the bait, and it's pulling this chin weight tight up against the bait. So when he swims and you're pulling him at a higher speed, that his profile is 100%. So that's what that hole is for, and they're going to be looking at even modifying that in a short time to come. They said they're going to be looking at
But
modifying
you
it.
put it over the bite trace, or have you?
Yeah, I would go
Yeah,
under the wire.
go
Yeah. So
under
yeah,
it rather,
you must
yeah.
make sure obviously your hook wires should be clear underneath. But that is what that hole is for, guys. So you can work around it. You can put the wire around the outside over the top. I'd actually do it the other way. Go around on the inside and then tighten it up. But that's what it's for.
Could also use wax
Yeah.
down as well.
Yeah, options. So yeah, clever design from the guys there, but definitely something to have in your arsenal if you're looking to trawl baits and you want that bait to sit nice and dead straight, nice and natural in the water, and you can pull it then at a high speed. Yeah.
Another nice high speed bait is sorry, did you want to? Another nice high speed bait is one that we learned from a good friend of ours up in St. Lucia, Oku Tunison, who opened his doors to us up in St. Lucia and just welcomed us and gave us some incredible moments up there, as well as really good fishing information and some tips. And here he's got a little tip on some fast trawling of a strip bait behind a Kona. So we're going to go to this video now. That's on our top tip, guys. Remember, the top tip is every Wednesday on the Go Fish Facebook page. So check this one out.
Put a little chokka strip on you.
Use that close.
Just to get some smell in the water. Because we know now that dories are around, saw one, so you might as well fish for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gonna leave the guts and stuff inside just to keep it fresh.
Yeah, so you're just taking a slight,
Just kind of
Section.
section out there.
look at Oki, he's like a chef.
This chokka is so fresh you can fry the rest of it. That I promise you. It's good bait.
Small pieces, huh? Wants to trim it straight, guys. Make sure it's cut all the little edges off.
Actually don't want to cut on this board, but yeah.
Now with neatly. Angle the point you're going to tie
Tight to the hook.
to the hook.
Now we're going to pull a small little islander, so we don't need a big strip bait. I like the wax line. If you go light, you want the lekker thin one. Okay guys, again, the main thing is a straight bait. Okay. So position it, make sure you got enough here to tie it on there and hook it. Put your hook nice straight through. There. That's going to be perfect. Just make a little loop. Chuck it over your hook.
Over the choker. With the tight
lock
there,
it there.
and then wind it.
Yeah. Put your bait on top of your hook. Always work a little bit better. And tie it off. You don't need to tie it a lot because it's chokka. You just want to lock it here. got it? You did it. I have enough to How do you feel? Finished. I thought it looked like it had been hit.
All right, guys. Lovely little tip there from Oki from up there in St. Lucia. We're definitely going to be fishing with him a lot more this year. Hopefully, if he'll have us back. I don't know.
Chasing more bunnies.
Chasing more bunnies, yeah. Byron's going to finish off with just one or two more tips on the dead baiting side of things. He's got a nice little trick here that really makes a massive difference to how your bait swims and how it looks in the water.
Yeah, so I mean, the ideal thing is to try and get a dead bait to swim without any sort of weight in the front, because the negativity about having a weight in the front is just that once you've hooked the fish, if that front hook isn't in the cutter, that's loose. So you've got like 1 or 2 ounces on the trace. If you're shaking his head like that, it's moving around, it can create kinks and that thing. So first prize is to get your bait to swim naturally. And there's a couple of things to it. So that stick trick that I showed you also works just to try and get your dead baits to swim. So you can force your bait to stay nice and straight by actually putting the stick in it. So even if you're fishing a normal bait, you can still put that stick in him like that, and it just it holds him nice and true. It stops him from going sort of off. If you're still a bit frozen, you can straighten him out nicely. Then I will fish a normal live bait trace like I showed you earlier. The only difference is here now I'll pin him. I won't go sideways, obviously. I'm going to pin him through the bottom and top lip. Okay, so he's going to be pinned like that through the bottom and bottom lip. Okay, and then I'm going to rig him normally. I'm going to take the wire and pin him down the side there. And then what you do is, this is a sponsor break. Sponsor break, guys. We've got a new sponsor, Spoonfuls of Ice Cream. So please get out there. It's the best vanilla ice cream. No, just kidding. So what you do is you take the empty tub of ice cream, guys, not the lid from the full tub in Mommy's freezer.
Favorite gin.
You go and grab some of this these pulsator flash tape. Okay, and you pluck it on the one side, and you take the other one, stick it on the other side, cut it nice and square. Let's see if I can get this thing loose without taking half an hour.
Just worst case scenario, if you don't have that tape, you can still use it.
You can still use it, exactly.
Tape
I mean, the
obviously
tape
just gives it a
is
bit
just
more
a nice add-on. It's a nice bit of flash. So I'll take that now. So I'm going to mirror that side. So what I've done on that side, I'm going to stick on here. Okay, so we've got that flash sitting both sides, and then what I'll do is I'll just take scissors, and I'm just going to cut a wing. And I'm just going to repeat that, and you can vary the width and size of the wing. So there's a wing there. Okay, so I've cut a wing there. Just a nice little like bend over the top.
Always the same shape though.
Yeah, I just find that shape. I mean, obviously, if you want to cut more, if you want to make it, the thing is, you're limited just by this tape. But if you've got wider tape, you can obviously cut it down to a point. So
Yeah,
I'm just working
okay.
on the width of the tape at the moment, and then on the size of the bait.
Yeah.
So obviously, you can stick two next to each other, and then cut bigger wings. You know, if you're going to fish a bonnie or something like that. But generally, I mean, that sort of size there is what's going to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually put that in the bait near his tail. So about a quarter of the way up, a third. So you just take a knife, you just puncture him about a third of the way down his body, I mean above the backbone. Just make a little hole there, come from the other side so that you don't mess the bait up too much.
Above the backbone.
Above the backbone now. So above the backbone, let's just see if I went a little bit wider. So you don't want to be forcing it through, so I'm just cut that so it fits nice and snug. Just cutting up his backbone like that. Then I'm going to pop that through, and so now he's got a little wing. And that 9 times out of 10 is going to, and Mark Delahaye actually showed me that one night when I got him off the tee and onto the drink. onto a couple of R&Rs. So thanks, Mark. But yeah, guys, what that does is really stabilizes the bait in the water, and he's flying like an airplane. You can imagine. So now you've got a bait that's free moving. He's looking a lot more natural, moving through the water like that. And 9 times out of 10, if you put the stick in and you put that wing through, and the wing is right size in proportion to the bait, you've got a deadly dead bait there that you're going to pull. And believe me, you're going to go top.
Just using the treble in the nose, and that sort of that shape there. Will that affect it in any way? It looks like it actually might stabilize.
It might stabilize a bit in the water, yeah. But just from a hookup rate,
Yeah.
you've obviously got 2 trebles now. 9 times out of 10.
I'm just thinking, looking at it, looks like it possibly could stabilize it a little
So it
bit
does,
as well.
yeah, it does. So through, and then what I'll do is if you're battling, I'll go a little bit back to old school. This is a little bit bigger than what I'd use, but I'll have a whole lot of little half ounces, little half ounce teardrops. So if I'm really battling to get in for swim, whatever reason, I'll just take a little half ounce, and I'll literally put it on one of the free hooks there, and then just squeeze it, put it over the barb, and then just squeeze it with a long nose pliers so it doesn't slip off. It will twist the bait slightly, so you'll end up swimming like that, which is again not a bad thing. But that's last resort if you're really battling to get into swim, which is very seldom. If your boat's pulling at about 3 k's, 2.5, 3 k's an hour, guys, that bait is going to get smoked. So yeah, that's really a good bait, especially if you axe on the paddle skis as well. You'll catch a lot of fish like that, especially if you're paddling, letting it sink. It's going to glide down, pull away, glide up.
And I think the guys need to. It makes a massive difference. It's like we've seen it. We saw it in Sodwana towards the end of last year. 1 or 2 of us were fishing the chin weighted baits versus a free swimming bait without a chin weight with the wing in the back, and the wing baits were going away all the time. Second to none, the wing baits were working. So you guys might think, oh, it's a little bit too much PT, a little bit too much effort. But trust me, put the effort in. These little tips have been tried and tested by Byron for years, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, he's been winning comps and jet skis.
That's so true, eh?
So
So often we get on there and you just like that, just a little bit of extra, like, I'll just leave it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
A bit too much effort, but that little bit of extra effort can make the
at least
difference, eh?
even if you don't catch anything, you've tried everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's 2 seconds, So there, I'm going to cut 10 of these tonight, put them in my box for next time I go somewhere where you can't catch, live bait. And it takes literally 2 seconds to put it into your dead bait. So
and nice, I see how nice and fresh your dead bait is. That's important as well, eh?
yeah, look, when I go anytime, even in the jet ski now, I mean, I launch tomorrow. I always take those little, you get those little cooler bags that you get from
The Adcan.
Yeah, the Adcan little cooler bag with a zip on it. Hey guys, take that with you. You catch 5-6 mackerel, they're in the live bait well. At least as soon as you get back to the beach, if they're still in the live bait well, or even if you catch them on your ski or whatever and they've died, you can leave them in the water, but you slip them in there, get some ice on them straight away, get back home, either Ziploc or vacuum pack, whatever, but get them in the freezer, get them nicely frozen, because these baits, these were caught last week, and now I know I've got like 20,
And
30
if you
good
can leave
mackerel.
them in that bag, even better, because we have with load shedding and whatever. I was looking at my bait just yesterday.
Yeah,
I hadn't looked at it for a while. And obviously, with a bit of load shedding,
little bit
a lot
defrost.
of
Once it
stuff
does it once,
terrible.
it's game over. Yeah.
All right, so I think that's a wrap on the baiting side of things for this show, guys. It's been incredible having a look at this and just the tips that you learn. You always learn something new when you look at the different techniques and the baits and the traces and that. If you didn't get to see it, it's going to be on our Facebook page, so you can go back and catch up on it later. We've got quite an exciting comp that's on the go at the moment, guys. It's the Go Fish Super Series, the Summer Slam, that's on currently. And it's basically in lieu of all the events that have been sort of cancelled due to COVID. So we've, from Go Fish, have started up this online and app-based event where you can fish from anywhere between the South African boundaries, offshore, of any craft, kayak, jet ski, or ski boat at any time. So whenever you get on the water, as long as you entered into this comp, you will be fishing in an event. And the biggest thing, guys, that I think a lot of guys are getting confused by is the fact the crux of the event is that it's a biggest fish comp. So you can enter it on the last day before the event and you could win it with the biggest fish. It's like going to the Durban Ski Boat Club, the Kudo Comp. Anyone can win it anywhere. It's just right time, right place, bit of luck on your side, and you could come out with the winning fish. Obviously, there's prizes, big
But
prizes
there are
for
lots of
species.
categories as well, yeah.
There's category prizes for biggest fish for kayak, jet ski, and ski boat. There's big ladies prizes, big junior prizes, lucky draws every week, big prize givings once a month. So we've given some awesome prizes out already. Dean Shazari and Alistair Jones were there this morning or this afternoon collecting some prizes that they had
Dean's won twice.
Dean's
got
won.
first fish of the comp,
Yeah,
and then he got biggest snook of last weekend. That was
100%.
that's the thing. We've also chucked in a few flash prizes. So last weekend we biggest snook of the weekend.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, like today, old Matthew, he would be leading that comp
Yeah.
if he had entered. So that's the whole idea behind it is, if you're going to be fishing, you may as well be in it to try and win a prize.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of guys say, oh, if you've got guys like Byron, Alistair, Jason Pretorius, who are fishing more regularly, we've got no chance. It's not the case. It's not the case
It's the
with that biggest
fish
fish.
comp,
Like you say, that
No
you
ways,
could
I
win
mean-
that biggest fish on the last day.
The tuna today was 42
Exactly.
kilos.
Yeah.
I mean, if that guy
42 kilos, guys. I
even hard to
mean,
beat that.
that's
if he was
it's
in it.
very seldom a
Clean
fish.
mini
Yeah, that's a winning fish. I mean, I doubt whether a tuna of over 42 will come in this area, But again, guys in Cape Town,
Yeah,
Exactly.
100%.
the guys are smashing the tuna, So
Nothing's stopping them entering.
You go out there, you're going to enter, come into 80 kilo, 90 kilo tuna at Richards Bay. So, but that'll then be on ski boat. So it doesn't shut you out on a paddle ski.
Yeah,
You still have biggest fish on paddle ski, biggest fish on jet ski. So, guys, it's wide open. The points thing is a species and fishing. That's not
But
that's
that's
not the
also
main
something
prize.
to go for. That's
There's
also
a prize
it's
in it, but it's not the
definitely.
main prize. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is open to anyone. I mean, and biggest fish always. But if you got a line in the water, you got a chance. Last year, December, we had the Mshlanga Festival. It was a 50 grand cash. It was 50 grand cash that was up. And one of the boys in the paddle ski got a 33 kilo yellowfin. He wasn't in the comp.
Yep.
Yeah.
For 600 rand.
yeah.
He missed out.
100%.
So let's not cry over sport milk. Let's get in the mix. There's been no comps, so you can't complain about having spent your money on 20 comps entering. Get in it and give yourself a chance, because seriously, after what I saw today, there's some decent tuna around coming out. That wasn't the only fish that came out, and there's kutu coming out as well. So
Yeah.
You got till 25th of April. That's when
and Dorado.
comp closes. So whenever
Yeah.
you think you're coming down to fish, just jump on keepnet.co, go under competitions section, go fish Super Series SummerSlam, enter on there. Easy as that.
Guys, BK, thanks very much for
Awesome.
the tips and tricks and that sort of thing. We really appreciate it. I'm sure the guys do as well. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Brendan, thanks for making time for the second round.
I was.
And all the way from the hill.
I was locked out. I was standing outside the gate.
All the way from Hillbillyville.
Yeah. So, guys, thanks very much for tuning in. Check in tomorrow morning when Byron or Brendan are going to be live streaming off either the kayak or the jet ski. So, check it out. We're going to have some live streaming action tomorrow. And then, obviously, there's the highlights package that'll be launched tomorrow evening as well, of the fishing that's been done throughout the last 2 weeks. So, tune in for that. Guys, thanks very much. Have a great weekend. There's some good weather on the way, so make sure you take advantage of that. And we wish you tight lines and hope you get into some fish.